France have reportedly been told to prepare for a major military engagement.
For the first time in decades, the French military is preparing for the unthinkable.
Hospitals in France have been told to prepare for something the country has not faced in decades: the possibility of a major war in Europe. A confidential letter from the Health Ministry, revealed in early September, instructed regional health agencies to get every hospital ready for a large-scale military engagement by March 2026. The message was clear. Hospitals should be able to handle tens of thousands of wounded, not only French troops, but also soldiers from NATO allies. That means expanding emergency capacity, reinforcing infrastructure, and training staff to treat injuries more often seen on battlefields than in emergency wards. Why does this matter? France holds a significant position as one of Europe's most powerful nations, having been a founding member of NATO and possessing nuclear power. When it tells its hospitals to prepare for war, it signals a level of concern that goes well beyond routine crisis planning. It raises questions about the trajectory of the war in Ukraine, the durability of NATO's unity, and the possibility of conflict spreading westward. Citizens may begin noticing changes: new drills, survival manuals distributed to households, or shifts in civil defense policy. At stake is not just the health system, but the country's sense of security. The roots of this story lie in the war that began in February 2022 when Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine. At the time, Moscow demanded that NATO stop expanding eastward and that Ukraine never be allowed to join the alliance. The United States and European countries rejected those demands, and the conflict quickly became about more than Ukraine. It became a struggle over the future of European security itself. Since then, NATO has only grown, with Finland joining in 2023 and Sweden in 2024. That doubled NATO's direct border with Russia and left Moscow increasingly isolated. In France, the government has already been laying the groundwork for national resilience. Earlier this year, it circulated a 20-page survival guide aimed at helping citizens prepare for emergencies ranging from natural disasters to armed conflict. The new hospital directive goes further, spelling out scenarios in which between 10 and 50,000 patients could need treatment over periods ranging from 10 days to 6 months. It also mentions setting up temporary medical centers near ports and airports to treat foreign soldiers before they are evacuated home. Health Minister Catherine Vautrin did not deny the letter's authenticity when asked by reporters. She explained that anticipating crises is part of the government's duty and compared it to preparing for epidemics or major natural disasters. Still, the timing is striking. Russia has sharply increased its defense spending for 2025, raising the budget by about 25% to more than 13 trillion rubles, the highest in its post-Soviet history. Overall defense and security spending will account for nearly 40% of government expenditures. According to the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, military spending is now approaching levels not seen since the Cold War. Meanwhile, France and its NATO partners have boosted their own deployments and military aid to Ukraine, reinforcing Europe's eastern flank with tens of thousands of troops. Reactions to the French hospital directive have been mixed. Some analysts say it is a prudent measure, the kind of forward planning any responsible government should do, given the instability on Europe's borders. Others worry it risks stoking unnecessary alarm, especially if citizens interpret the move as a sign that war is inevitable. In French media, critics have called for greater transparency about what threat assessments are driving these preparations. Yet the government has framed it as anticipatory, not predictive. Officials are careful to say they are not announcing that war is coming, only ensuring that France is not caught unprepared if tensions escalate further. The numbers underscore the stakes. NATO countries collectively spend around $1.5 trillion a year on defense, compared with Russia's roughly $140 billion. NATO could, in theory, mobilize more than 3 million troops, while Russia has just over 1 million active personnel, many already tied down in Ukraine. These imbalances make a direct NATO-Russia confrontation unlikely in the short term, but they do not remove the risk of miscalculation, escalation, or prolonged proxy conflict that spreads beyond Ukraine. What remains uncertain is what prompted the French government to set the deadline for March 2026. Officials have not revealed whether specific intelligence pointed to that date or whether it is simply a realistic timeframe to implement large-scale medical preparations. It is also unclear how hospitals will balance this mandate with their ordinary obligations, given that France's health system is already under strain from staffing shortages and financial pressure. Looking ahead, observers will watch how France allocates resources in its upcoming budgets. If significant new funds flow into hospital preparedness, it will suggest the government views the threat as serious. Citizens will also see more public guidance in the form of survival manuals and drills. And internationally, analysts will track whether Russia maintains its surge in defense spending, whether NATO adjusts its posture further, and whether peace talks or escalations shift the balance. So, is France preparing for war with Russia? Officials say no, not in the literal sense. They insist this is contingency planning, comparable to fire insurance. You hope you never need it, but you would be reckless not to have it. For ordinary citizens, the advice is to stay informed, understand emergency procedures, and recognize that preparation is not prediction. The French state is sending a message that it wants to be ready for the worst while still hoping to avoid it. The bottom line is this: France's new hospital directive is less about forecasting war and more about refusing to be surprised by it. In an era when the line between peace and conflict feels thinner than it has in decades, that distinction may be the difference between resilience and chaos.
Si nous sommes si nombreux